happiness or experience. What the heck is this experience? Well, it's really a combination of songs that I've written, stories, and discussion about how to enhance happiness in our lives. So my first question for the team is, how many people are too happy right now? How many people said, I have too much happiness in my life? All right, that sort of continues the trend I've seen for a while here. I'm still waiting for that first hand to come up. How about how many people feel that we're less happy today than we were a year ago? Some yes, some no, you know. All right, that's good, that's good. So, get more of a mixed response there. So, I'm going to open up with a song that I recorded last spring and released last summer, and it's called Everything's Worse. And you're going to say, wow, we're starting a happiness thing with Everything's Worse? Yeah, well, you know, stay with me, we'll play. And I was going to do a sound check, which I was doing with myself. How's that mix of the guitar and the voice? Is that good? Okay, good. Yeah. There's so much noisy static in the air. All these angry voices everywhere. A million tribes just want to have their way. They lost their ears, can't hear what others say. Seem to have forgotten we're living with the curse. We can't deny everything's worse. We can't deny everything's worse. Every year the weather gets more violent. Species disappear, forever silent. Everything is way too much expensive. Our children get too apprehensive. We don't ask the real hard questions, what future lives are worth. We can't deny everything's worse. We can't deny everything's worse. Presidents ignoring constitutions. No one wants a compromise solution. Truths we take for granted have no value. Our foreign friends we now give the shaft to. When oligarchs are winning, the rest of us get hurt. We can't deny everything's worse. We can't deny everything's worse. And then there's cybernetic Armageddon. All we take for granted is so threatened. There must be some hope on the horizon. Together we can build a world that's rising. Tumbling topsy-turvy, there's no time to rehearse. We really need to hurry, there's so much to reverse. Don't waste your days with worry, try anything that works. We can't deny everything's worse. We can't deny everything's worse. We got to start to make things better. 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 Now. Thank you very much. So I was really happy to write that song, so I got it off my chest. But then at the same time, I tried to put an element of hope, that we could all sort of converge on. Because I know people have different opinions about where we are, but I think there are certain things throughout that you think, yeah, that's right. And what made me write that song is I have a son who was born in 1996. And a couple of years ago, he said, Dad, I've been reading about 1996, and I'm thinking about today, and I just feel like everything's worse. I was like, oh boy, I don't think I hear him say that. I mean, trying to talk about it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, man, that's a song title right there. I'm gonna go to it. And it's funny, because I should mention it up front, but one thing that makes people happy, and there's certainly many people in this room who know this, is that when you get to sing with other people, it makes you happy. So as you hear these songs you've never heard before, and you think, oh, I think I know how that chorus goes, feel free to join in if you want to. I've played that song in different places sort of around the country, and that end there, we need to make things better. You get people up and clapping, and it's just kind of fun. So anyways, thanks for listening. This is the one song that I play on this guitar. So I'm going to turn it down, take this out. All right, so how many people like to read stories? How many people like to watch stories? How many people like to tell stories? How many people like to write stories? No. How many of you are authors? I respectfully disagree with you. We are all authors. We are writing the story of our lives every single day by day, page by page, month by month, year by year, chapter by chapter. All sorts of characters coming and go, all sorts of plots twisting and turning. There's a lot going on as we're writing the stories of our life. And what I hope to do here is give you some ideas on how to maybe sprinkle a little more happiness into our lives. That makes sense? And I've structured this like a story. I'm going to type 5 chapters. First one's going to be about happiness, talking a little bit about sort of some of the fundamental aspects of happiness. Next one's going to be about awe and the happiness you experience when you sort of get into this state of awe. Third one's going to be about purpose. Because believe me, if you've had meaning in your life and you're following your purpose, you tend to be happy. Fourth one is about people. Being with other people is one of the best things you can do for happiness. And the last one is about you. Things that you can do, in addition to stuff we talked about, to potentially make you happy. So pretty tricky, huh? Happy. Happy! There we go. So we'll get started on the happiness chapter. And some of you know this story, and I apologize, because I think there's more who don't know this story. But on December 23rd, 2007, 18 years ago now, Pam and I were having dinner with friends. This is my wife Pam over here. She's really not sort of hired to be to do this. I tried to sit up so she just could sit, but I guess she's still going to stand. So thank you. Anyways, we had dinner with friends, and we went to dinner, came home, getting ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden it was like somebody took a ray gun and blasted me in the head. And I just fell forward, fainted, fell on the floor, kind of staggered up, knew I was going to get really sick, raced into the restroom, got really sick, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? So I sort of stumbled back to my bed, get in bed, I'm like, oh, I gotta go sleep. Pam's like, I think we need to call the doctor. I said, oh, I don't know what's causing this, but this is not good, but I want to go to sleep. She goes, no, we're calling the doctor. Good thing she called the doctor. This was sort of like angel number 1 that sort of helped me out, because the doctor's like, call 911. So off comes 911. It's like now about, I don't know, midnight, 12:30 midnight on the 24th of December. And I was taken over to John Dempsey Hospital. And they figured out that I had a brain aneurysm. And there's one way where you can treat it, which is easier. You kind of go up through the groin and put little pellets in to stop the bleeding. And they quickly determined that this will not work. This is too big. We can't do it with that. So then for the next few hours, it was like, what are we going to do with Jeff? Because they knew at John Dempsey, they did not have the ability to do the surgery that I needed. Fortunately, angel number 2, the doctor who was on call that night at John Dempsey, he had done a residency down in the neurosurgeon area of Columbia Presbyterian. So he called the lead neurosurgeon who was in between surgeries and said, I've got this patient here that we need to get down to you to do the surgery. And he said, all right, well, my last surgery ends around 10:30, and I'm going to go on vacation after that, but I'm happy to extend. So yeah, get him down here. So, the whole time that I was really out of it, pretty much. I didn't know what was going on. I knew that the simple thing wasn't going to work and something else was going to happen. And then I remembered, and by the way, you might be more comfortable if you had a chair up here. You okay? Okay, thanks. Or get one of these beautiful red ones right next to me on the other side. So I was taken down eventually to Columbia Presbyterian, and at 10:30 at night, they started that surgery, and I came out around 3:30 in the morning. Our son was about 11 years old at the time, so Pam had to find people to cover him and get over, and it was a sort of day before Christmas kind of stuff. And so she got down there, and I woke up around 10:30 on, because now this was Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, so it was like the 24th and the 25th. I was supposed to be a lay reader at the 11 p.m. service that night. Still not sure who covered for me, but somebody covered for me that night, thank goodness. But anyways, I woke up, and Dan will never let me forget this, but the very first thing I said, as I kind of come out of this daze and have no clue where I am, I need my BlackBerry. She said, you need your BlackBerry? Because I'm thinking, I've got to go to this meeting in Minneapolis. I was working at United Healthcare at the time, and Pam was like, can't you say, I love you or something? I need my BlackBerry, jeez, So, anyways, I was in the ICU for brain aneurysms for about 11 days, and what was amazing was the whole floor was just brain aneurysm patients. So that's a good sign. You want to be somewhere where they know what they're doing, and they're doing a lot of them. But day 2, in comes a nurse. To this day, I don't know what she was thinking when she told me this, but she said, Mr. Verney, you have to understand, 40% of the people on this floor will not leave. 40% of the people on the floor are going to leave permanently damaged. 10 to 20% will be normal. We don't know where you are right now. Oh, thanks for sharing that.
That's a happy thought.
I know, real happy thought. So, during this whole thing, if you think I'm not in that normal category, please speak up. You just never know. Anyways, went through my 11 days. We got home, and it was just that month of January, once I was home, I could just feel the prayers coming my way. It was just such an overwhelming sense. There's this wonderful shawl ministry here, prayer shawls, and that got to me very quickly. And I can't tell you how comforting, I almost brought it tonight, but how comforting it was to just wrap around and just feel those prayers. It was incredible. And weird things would happen. I get this get well card from this church in Iowa. We're praying for you. I'm like, I don't know anybody in Iowa. This is just mind blowing. But one step after another, started to get better and better, and went back to work and sort of fit for it to an extent. And I felt like by April I was sort of normal-ish. But in retrospect, it probably took a year to really get the same level of engagement and energy that I had. But one thing I quickly realized going through this was I had an immense sense of gratitude. Oh my God, every day. I'm so grateful to be alive. It's another day, yay! And that pretty much has stayed with me, these past 18 years. And it was interesting because I had an uncle who was a minister in the congregational faith, and he would always sign his messages to his parish, gratitude abounds. So I've been seeing this gratitude abounds for my whole life. It's Christmas cards, notes of gratitude abounds, gratitude abounds. And it just sort of was like this thing. Well, suddenly it got way more meaning for me in terms of gratitude abounding. And so I wrote some songs. I also, most of my career has been at United Healthcare and and Cigna doing group healthcare insurance kind of stuff. But I also had written songs and had recorded songs and stuff like that on the side when I was doing my career. And so I wrote multiple songs that were sort of informed by that experience of the brain aneurysm. And I thought, and the album was Gratitude Abounds. That was the name of the album, Gratitude Abounds. And I thought, I should write a song called Gratitude Abounds. So I did, and I think I should play it right now. I'm just gonna switch this thing over to this guitar. I love this wireless mic. It's like a neat little toy here, except for getting it into the holder. Okay. Anybody have any brain aneurysm stories you want to share while we're waiting? Once it happens, though, you realize how many people do get brain aneurysms, and it's just really makes me reflect even more how blessed I was to get through it. Okay, here's another song that I recorded and came out last year, Gratitude Abounds. It took me a while to record it, but I finally got it recorded. Good mix here? Can you hear the guitar? A little louder? My life began the day that we first met. Your laughter sang like angels in my ears. Your stories drove straight through my heart. Your words were filled with smiles that washed away a lifetime filled with fears. Now millions of seconds have passed. I never knew this kind of love could last. Free from envy, free from greed. Life with you is all I need. The joy we have found. Gratitude abounds. Gratitude abounds. You taught me more than I will ever know. Your songs of life with lessons so profound. Your melodies still lift me up. Your tale still rings so true. When I'm with you, there's so much things I can do. Gratitude abounds. Gratitude abounds. Our never-ending harmonies will soar. Each moment better than the ones before. Now billions of seconds have passed. I never knew this kind of love could last. Free from envy, free from greed. Life with you is all I need. The joy I have found. Gratitude abounds. Gratitude abounds. Oh. Gratitude abounds. Thank you. Gratitude does abound all over the place. It's just jumping everywhere. Oh, man. So, gratitude, a key component of happiness, no question about it, very foundational. But the word happy, where does it come from? It's actually pretty interesting. It comes from Iceland. I don't know how many Icelandic words we sort of normally bring into our vocabulary, but that's one. And in Icelandic, it means choice. And to me, that's very interesting because in many ways, for most of us, happiness is a choice. I mean, there are some people it's not a choice. There may be situations where it's not happening, but generally it is. And so, it's funny, just like I told you about, I wake up every day. Gratitude, I was having one of these seminars, and afterwards somebody came up, and she goes, every morning, the first thing I think is, I'm so happy. And that just gets me out of bed and just in the right frame of mind. So if you choose to be happy, it helps facilitate you being happy. And why should we be happy? Well, happy people, and all sorts of research, tend to be healthy people. So if you'd like to be happy, you can be healthy. And frankly, if you're healthy, you tend to be happy too. So there's a nice little reinforcing circle here. Unfortunately, we're not living in the happiest country in the world right now. You know, Gallup and Oxford University do a survey of all the countries, or most of the countries in the world, measuring their happiness. And I think the best the US ever was like 11th in 2012 maybe or something. Right now we're 25th, and we've been kind of going down the elevator, you know, these past few years. And it's interesting because the happiest countries are places like Finland, you know, Norway, all the Scandinavian, they're all like in the top 10. And so that's kind of interesting, because think about how much cold weather they have, and yet they're still happy. It's unbelievable, you know? So, and then there's one country, Bhutan, where they actually measure happiness as one of their two key indicators. There's like this financial indicator, like GDP or something, and then sort of the gross happiness index. It has 9 different components to it and stuff. And even though they've been kind of a closed-off country for us, for Western world, although now it's more open, it's happiness is really important to them. And just a quick funny little story, we have friends who had a daughter that was a day student at Choate. And several years ago, her daughter was friends with a guy who was a boarder there, who had a roommate. And it was like parents' weekend. And this boy, who was the boarder, who lived nearby, called his parents up and said, hey, my roommate's parents are coming. How about if we invite them over for dinner on Friday night? Because there's nothing really going on Friday night for parents' weekend. And they're like, sure, yeah, we'll be happy to do that. So like Thursday that week, the day before the dinner was going to be, they get a call from Choate. And the school says, we understand you're having your son's roommate over for dinner tomorrow night. Yeah. We just want to make sure you know that that's the king of Bhutan. What? Yes, the king of Bhutan? And there's probably going to be an entourage. I don't know how many people you're expecting. Oh, boy. So, sure enough, they showed up. They were like, what should we cook? Just do whatever you're going to do. Just don't change things. So we sort of left with that story hanging. And then we got back, and many weeks later with our friends, we said, whatever happened at that dinner? And they said, oh, it was just this incredibly happy dinner. The king was happy. It was just so much joy and happiness and goodness. Yeah, how about that? And it's interesting because happiness, has been thought about thousands and thousands of years. Like Aristotle says that, the meaning and purpose of life is happiness. And then today, the Dalai Lama says, the meaning and purpose of life is happiness. So there's 5,000 years apart, they're saying. And our country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And then, of course, we all know that famous 20th century philosopher, Charles Schultz. Happiness is a warm puppy, right? One time I did this one. The attendee said, I thought we were all going to get a puppy. Anyway, so happiness, the two key things out of happiness is just importance of gratitude, and then that mindset, two things to kind of think about that you can take with you. Awe. Oh my goodness, awe. Awe to me is being like this transcendent moment where you're sort of stepping outside of yourself and you're just savoring, taking in whatever it is that brings you awe. For me, one of the things that brings me awe is we live in West Simsbury, we're in the woods, but even if there's no moon at the night, I can barely see the Milky Way. Look up, it's a very faint set of stars. But if we're in the mountains, away from everything, or we're by the beach and no lights around, or out on the water at night, sometimes that Milky Way looks like a blazing highway of stars. And I am just totally entranced and caught in awe as I'm looking at this, just reveling in the fact that we are where we are, we're part of all this. It's just amazing to me. And people find awe in different things. It could be a sublime piece of music. It could be a piece of art. It could be being out in the woods. It could be anything. But you really have an opportunity to just sort of be in that moment. Does anybody want to share? Do you have anything that brings you awe that comes quickly to mind? Besides watching Jeff Verney and Perpetual happiness growth.
Dolphins in the ocean.
Oh, dolphins in the ocean. Yeah, that's a good one.
Beautiful,
We saw the aurora last year.
Yes, exactly.
beautiful sunrise or sunset.
Yeah, sunrise, sunset, just keep
Beautiful
it.
music our choir
The
makes.
choir making that beautiful, it strikes us so well. Oh my gosh. Yeah, great examples. And the thing about awe, so when you're in that moment of awe, you're happy. I mean, there's this profound sense of happiness to it. But for us to be able to experience awe, we do need to have sort of an uncluttered mind. And that is really hard to do. We have thoughts shooting through our mind all the time. There's been, I was like, how many thoughts of the day does the average person have? And as I've looked at different places, it's anywhere between 6,000 and 60,000. Whatever the number is, that's a boatload of thoughts. And you know, we have what are called monkey minds. You know, they're just swinging back and forth all over these thoughts. And if you're worried about something, it even gets worse, right? You can get circling around something you're worried about, wakes you up at night, can't go back to sleep, you know, it's just not fun. And from like my mid-20s to my mid-30s, we were living, Kim and I were married, we were living in San Francisco. I enjoyed my career, but for some reason I was a huge worrywart. Oh my God, I worried about everything all the time. It was really impacting my stomach. I mean, this was not a good thing. And why am I worrying so much? I don't know. But I was sharing this with an acquaintance out there, and he said, you know, you really need that book. You need to read that book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Yeah, that sounds like that's something I'd be interested in. Who wrote it? Dale Carnegie, the guy that wrote, you know, How to Make Friends and Influence. Yeah. So this was like around 1985. So no Amazon, no Borders were really out yet, no Barnes and Noble. So I had to go to the library and different independent bookstores, and I could not find this book anywhere because it came out like in the 40s. And then one day I was at a used bookstore in Berkeley, California. The Holy Grail. There's that book! Oh my God! You know, I can't tell you how happy I am I found this book. So brought it home and read it, and it was filled with good advice about all sorts of things. Well, what he said about worrying is, if you're worried about something, figure out what's the worst thing that could happen. What's the worst thing? And then think about, if that happens, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? So you start getting a plan together about what you're going to do. And then he said, all right, you've got your plan. You know what you're going to do. You don't have to worry about it anymore, because if it doesn't happen, great. And if it does happen, you know what you're going to do. I don't know, I think that makes sense. And so I tried it. I mean, it was, it has worked, something I've carried through my life pretty much. You know, I mean, not that I don't worry about things once in a while, but I always try to go mentally that path. But again, as I've gone down this journey here, there was I read that book, same thing, you know, so it's fun. Now, I gave that book to somebody else to read, and I never got it back.
Give us the name again, Jeff.
How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And I've been meaning to look it up to see if it's now out on Amazon or where it might be. Thank you for joining us here. So anyways, you do have an ability to sort of free up your mind and not worry about stuff if you try that. And I'm going to end this section with a song that sort of captures this sense of awe and wonder. It's called Hope Lies in the Wildness. How lush the world can be. I touch eternity each time I step outside. I find the stars do climb. Every breath, every I take, a life I make as I breathe the air of all that came before. As the years or storms appear, I sometimes hear the crashing of waves, the warning of waves as they crash on the shore. Hope lies in the wildness. Treat the earth with kindness. Everything I see is sacred. and hope lies in the wildness. I used to want to fly. Now I choose to watch the sky. A million stars at night. A brilliant gift of sunshine. So much majesty. My mind is free to dream of the beautiful days yet to come. As the years spin by, my spirits fly, with gratitude shining as bright as the sun. Hope lies in the wildness. Treat the earth with kindness. Everything I see is sacred, and hope lies in the wildness. Everyone I see is sacred, and hope lies in the wildness. Thank you very much. I love that hope in the wildness. Oh my goodness. But not today. I think we're just staying inside, be warm today. Anyway, so that sense of awe, uncluttering the mind. And there's ways we all know to unclutter the mind, right? Meditation, mindfulness, count to 10, take a deep breath, but anything to sort of still it down so that we can take things in and be part of it. All right, now it's time for purpose. I'll go back to my aneurysm story here. So the afternoon that I had my aneurysm, it was late afternoon, we're going to go to dinner at Friends. And as I said, Pam was getting ready, and I was ready already. And I sat down at the piano and I started playing the little song on the piano, little melody. And I thought, I think I like this melody. And then I came up with a little line like, oh, this maybe could be a Christmas song. So this is before having a recording stuff on my cell phone, which is what I do now. I had to race around, find some sheet music, write down the melody and the words. I thought, this is perfect. It's the 23rd today. Tomorrow's the 24th. We have everything done. We're ready for Christmas. I can work on this song tomorrow, and then I can play it for Pam and Sam as a Christmas present on Christmas Day. Yay, what a plan. So much for that plan, you know. So we, I don't know how many days it took me to sort of remember this, but all of a sudden I thought, oh yeah, I had that song that I'm writing. This is when I'm in the ICU. And I gotta get better so I can write that song. I gotta finish that song. And it sort of gave me this short-term purpose. I mean, obviously I wanted to survive, be with my family and friends and do this, but that song was a real, something for me to latch onto to help with my recovery. So I recovered and ended up writing the song. It's been recorded a couple times. You know, everybody wants to write the next White Christmas, right? And still looking for that, but you know, it's worked out okay. So but after that, you know, I'm filled with gratitude after that. But you start thinking, why me? Why was I one of the 10 to 20% that survived? What am I supposed to do with my time? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? And it's funny, I never really thought much about purpose prior to this moment. I think I read there was a book like, you know, How to Live a Purpose-Filled Life or something like that came out many years ago. I think I'd read that, but I sort of felt like I had the outline of my life that was expected of me, you know, be a kid, go to school, graduate from high school, and my family go to college, graduate from college, get a job, get married, have a career, have a family, retire, the end. You know, that was sort of the outline that I was living. And as I got thinking about it, I thought, there's got to be a more meaningful purpose to this. So over a few months, I wrote a song called Purpose, sometimes helping me, you know, when I'm thinking things through, writing a song sometimes helps me thinking. But I finally decided at the highest level, my purpose was to help other people. And that's what I'm going to want to help my family, help my friends, help my people at work, help people in the community. And that was one where I was helping some of the community, but I sort of took that up a level after, as I thought about this and I wanted to do it. And that was a great North Star for me for the next 15 years or so. I thought, try to spend as much time as I can helping other people. Well, like I said before, I like to make music and stuff when I'm working for the companies and things. And I have a band, sort of a couple members from my original high school band, and here it is, decades later, we're still playing together. And in the summer of 2022, we put on a free rock concert at Simsbury Meadows Performing Arts Center. And we play a lot of the songs that I've written. And so sort of like tonight, everybody's hearing songs they've never heard before. We try to get people, I'm bouncing around, jumping, trying to make people happy. And people are always like, Jeff, you're having so much fun up there. It makes us feel like we're having fun too. It's good. So I came down after the concert, and I'm out on the field talking to somebody, and I see out of the corner of my eye an acquaintance, retired Episcopal minister, that several of you know, and she comes up to me, and she grabs my shoulders, and she goes, Jeff, why aren't you doing this all the time? Look how happy you're making everybody. You should be doing this all the time. And I'm like, well, I got a full-time job, I gotta work, I make money, blah, 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 blah. But she planted a seed, and I started thinking like, Jeff, you're not getting any younger. Why aren't you doing this full-time? And so I finally made the decision I'm going to move from helping people the way I've been thinking about up to that moment to now trying to help people by bringing them happiness, positivity, optimism, creativity, hope, which was sort of natural anyways, but just really focus on doing that. That's sort of the two big buckets were creating and performing was sort of how I defined it. So I stepped out of the world of healthcare executive or group healthcare executive to starving artist. And so still trying to crack the code on that other side. But and that's what I've been doing. But it aligned my purpose that much better with who I really am meant to be. And it's been just a joy. I can't tell you that the happiness that I have felt, having my purpose, my essence, all aligned, just brings me great happiness. And so I would just encourage everybody to think about, what's your purpose, what makes you happy, and you can increase that happiness. And not happy in a ha-ha-ha sense, but in a, yes, I'm living the life that I'm meant to lead sense, that leads to happiness. So I know we're a month past Christmas, 11 months ago, the next Christmas. And I usually play Purpose here, but I thought I'd play Christmas time here, the Christmas song, if that's all right with y'all. I had this down. I've been practicing getting this thing in and out, being a little troublesome tonight. Snowflakes fall. Oh wait, I forgot. K-bone, go up one note, one whole note. I can sing it a little bit better. Snowflakes fall, and I recall the secret sound of Santa's sleigh. Noisy nights and sparkling lights, the joy of families that play. Times when we were together, can't wait for them to start. Christmas time, oh Christmas time, you hold you in my heart. Jingle bells and cookie smells, those Christmas carols we would sing. Twinkling eyes and cherry pies, the love that everyone would bring. Times when we were together, couldn't wait for them to start. Christmas time, oh Christmas time, I hold you in my heart. Memories we hold, memories we hold, newborn babe that shows the way to both the young and old. Though things change, this day remains a light from all who came before. Simple gifts and joy that lifts our hopes and hearts forevermore. Times when we were together, couldn't wait for them to start. Christmas time, oh Christmas time, I hold you in my heart. Christmas time, oh Christmas time, I hold you in my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Was that the Christmas song you were working on?
That was a song. Yeah, and the line was, Christmas time, oh Christmas time, I hold you in my heart. That was the line that I'd written down, and then I kind of worked the rest of it off. So yeah, that was a song. And yeah, you practice and practice, hope you don't make any mistake. Never happens. Oh my God.
The blessing of live music.
Yes, yes, exactly. So the so again, purpose really, really foundational.
So Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
There's a course at Yale, the most popular course called, I think, Happiness.
Uh-huh.
Can happiness be taught?
You know, I think, again, if you think about happiness being a mindset, I think it can be taught in terms of getting you to think about what brings happiness and meaning to you. I read a book by the gentleman who's teaching that course from Yale. Pretty sure he has the book. There's another one at Harvard. These are like some of the most popular courses at these schools, happiness. And when I first created this, I did a lot of research around it. I've kind of pared it down a bit than the original one that I did, because I was citing all these references and this and that, but I thought, as I got feedback, I can let that go. But yeah, and again, I'm hoping tonight, I'm giving you some ideas about, maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll think about that a little bit. So, I think it can be taught. At least I'm trying, you know. So I would like everybody just to close your eyes real quickly and think about a couple of the happiest moments of your life. Okay. So I'm not going to ask anybody to share it, but how many of you, as you thought about those moments, had moments where other people were involved as you thought about it? Yeah, you know, we are social people. Being with other people brings us such happiness for the most part. I mean, we always know there's exceptions, but it's, you know, it really is true. And, you know, they've done research showing that, this is pretty amazing, that people who live sort of solitary lifestyles and don't interact a lot with other people, their blood pressure tends to be 30 points higher than those who have more regular interaction. 30 points higher. So it's good. And you think about it. I mean, we grew up in the caves, you know, had to band together, danger, danger, saber-tooth coming, or you know, whatever it might be. We've got to try to help each other out here. And the, I don't know, I think there's some things that I can't believe have happened during my lifetime that I'm not sure they're for the best. And I start off with what I call sort of the virus of technology. When I was growing up, like in the 50s, late 50s and early 60s, into most of the 60s, my family had one TV. So we would all sit around watching TV together. And we'd talk about the shows. And guess what? Other people were watching the same shows. You know, you go to school and say, did you see Ed Sullivan last night? Or did you see Walt Disney? You know, whatever the show might be. And then maybe like in the late 60s, early 70s, TVs got a little cheaper. I mean, color started. And you might get a second TV in the house. And now there was a little bifurcation. You know, my brother and I would be watching one TV in this room, and you know, my parents would be watching this room, or my dad and myself and my brother, and whatever it was. But suddenly you had a little bit of fragmenting of the collective experience in the household. And then, you know, you started getting cable TV, where now you had other channels. And I remember, like, I think in 1975, there was an article in Time magazine about cable TV. And I thought, who would want to pay for cable TV when you get it free, everything you need right now? One missed opportunity, okay? You know. So, you know, started doing that. And then, you know, computers started coming into the house. And I'll never forget that first Macintosh ad, Apple, I think it was during the Super Bowl or something, and it was like, oh, that looked really cool. Let's get a little personal computer. So now you get one personal computer in the house, or maybe a second one and a third one, and then you sort of move forward into the internet, and now you're starting to get different choices, and then you move forward into cell phone. Again, about the year 2000, I was having dinner with some friends, and a guy said, wouldn't it be great if we had this device that was right here, that we could ask any question, because we would be discussing things and sort of not agreeing on things, and we could look up the answer, what the right thing is. No way that's ever going to happen. Another missed opportunity, So, but you get this, now social media, and we're now just totally fragmented in so many ways, and not having that communal experience. And then, of course, we get the real virus, COVID, and now you're sending everybody home. And before COVID, I felt like at work, I was starting to use Teams meetings, and you'd have meeting groups, with people on the screen. But it wasn't as much in the house. But, COVID drove everybody into the house, Zoom, Teams, whatever. I always have to laugh about those early years or months of Zooming and stuff because, hey, Wes, can you answer the question? And Wes would go, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Well, what is that? You're not muting your ears, you're muting your face. No, and actually, this is me that was normally having it too. But it just, we were all learning our way through it, right? And then, we come out of COVID, and there's sort of an epidemic of loneliness right now. People it's much easier to stay in and kind of, quote, get what they need from their screen, or wherever the screen might be. Blood pressure's starting to go up, we're not sort of interacting with other people that we want to be interacting with. And it's hard, so, and it's funny, because I know South Korea, I was just reading an article a couple months ago, that they are so concerned about this loneliness that they have a proactive programs that get people together. Because you think about, and we are so blessed here at St. John's, in fact that we have such a thriving community where we can do so many different things together. But there are a lot of people who don't. They're like, I don't want to go to church. You don't know what you're missing, just getting together. But, the social engagement has really dropped. And just, having personal interactions. Some people are like, well, I don't feel comfortable talking to people. Well, there was this Ford methodology of how to have conversations. I think it was invented in the 50s or 60s. But it's like, if you meet a stranger, talk about family, and talk about occupation, and talk about recreation, and then my favorite one, talk about dreams. A little mental construct that helps you sort of have conversations with people. But it's just talking with people, just recognizing people. When I worked in United Healthcare, I would go to Minneapolis, and I like to have a cappuccino every day in the middle of the day. And United had this coffee shop sort of on the main floor of the main building. And there was a woman that worked there named Heather, and I got to know Heather. I would chat with her. She had a picture of Tommy, her son, behind her. Hey, how's Tommy doing? And I'd come back and forth. I go out there a couple times a month, and so she was just really pleasant to talk to. And I try not to talk too much because there's people behind me, But then one day, it was just me and her, and she goes, Jeff, I need to thank you for something. What's that? Thank you for seeing me. That really cut to my heart. I mean, I was happy that I was seeing her, but it made me think about, there's people I interact with kind of regularly that I may not see, that don't have that same level of discourse that I was having with Heather. So I make a real effort now to try to, again, just engage with people. We're going through life here together. So it's, in terms of people, the other key thing is, and again, I think we're such a paradigm of doing this, reaching out to people when you think they need help, or just finding out if they're okay, if they need help. Todd and Margie are just phenomenal at doing that. I think with the parents, just checking in and see how things are going here to work. Are you okay? Everything good? And also not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's okay. Ask for help. We're all here to help each other. So all those things. So if you're with people, you're asking for, you're helping people. It definitely helps with the happiness. Time for another song. Here's one about sort of getting help when you need it. It's called Light in the Darkness. This comes I was lost in the wilderness for a very long time, trying to find some holiness. Was a hard road to climb, but one night you appeared. I was down as far as I could go. With your grace, all I feared slipped away as hope began to grow. You're the light in the darkness. You're the port in the storm. You're the light here in the darkness. And your love keeps me warm. I found life wasn't what I planned. I fell far from my dreams. Maybe I didn't understand all the pain I was seeing. I was caught in the crossroads, so confused about which way to go. You're the light in the darkness. You're the port in the storm. You're my light here in the darkness. Take me home, keep me warm. I had no guide, no fire inside. Your tender embrace finally chased the troubles away. You're the light in the darkness. You're the port in the storm. You're my light here in the darkness. And your love keeps me warm. Thank you so much. Light in the darkness. You guys are all light in my darkness, I'll tell you. Holy smokes. Just love looking out here. All right, so the final chapter. You. Things that you can do. In addition, so we talked about, gratitude, mindset of happiness, trying to unclutter your mind so we can experience awe, having purpose, being with other people. Well, other ideas. First, smile, laugh. Just try to get yourself into that mood. I'm just, one thing that strikes me, if I'm walking around, like outside, or wherever I might be, and I have a smile on my face, people smile back, because they're kind of like, it's just funny how people respond visually to the smile. Another thing, is like practicing random acts of kindness. Same thing, when I open a door for somebody, they always seem sort of shocked that I'm holding the door, They're doing this for me. Yes, come on in, welcome. Oh. So, and I gotta tell you, I couldn't believe it. About 3 Sundays ago, I left here, and I usually stop at Starbucks on the way home on Bishop's Corner to get a cappuccino, and I was waiting in line. Usually I order ahead, but for some reason, I was thinking about maybe getting one of those chocolate croissants, which are so tasty. But I'll just order. So, person at the register, myself. Person at the register turns, she goes, and pick up whatever these guys are going to get. You don't need to do that. What? Oh, no, I want to. Really? Yes. Thank you, Gotta remember to do that for the people behind me, you know? But I thought, right, I'm just gonna get a cappuccino, forget that chocolate croissant. I don't want you to think I'm being greedy here. So, anyways, practicing random acts of kindness can make you happy. Creating things. You know, we all have gifts. We might be creating something in the kitchen. We might be creating something in the workshop, out in the garden, whatever it might be. For me, it's like doing my bunnies book or writing a song. But it's just the act of creating can make you very, very happy. Another thing is spirituality. And I'm sort of preaching to the choir here about this. And it's funny because we're so blessed because, you know, the whole point of spirituality is sort of being part of something bigger than yourself and finding it wherever you can find it. And, hello.
It's okay, you can come through.
Come on through. But the whole point is, you know, you can find it at a place like St. John's. Other people may find it out in the woods. You know, other people may find it, you know, in yoga, whatever it might be that sort of taps you into something bigger. It's good. Now again, I had a person come up afterwards. I don't know why you tell them you got to sit your butt in the church every week and that'll make you happy. And she was a Catholic. You know, she was. And we've been having some discussions about, you know, Catholicism or something like that. So I just like, yeah, okay. I'm not sure I'm going to tell people that in terms of happiness, but I word it differently. So, anyways, spirituality can, and we all know this. We can have great happiness being here together, doing things. Another thing, and I feel like this is the trifecta or the quadrifecta, I don't know, volunteering. Because when you volunteer, you know, you're typically doing something that might align with your purpose and your mission, something that interests you, has meaning to you. You're doing it with other people. You're helping other people. You're working hard to create things that make things happen. It's just a wonderful thing. And we all know there can be times when you volunteer for something, you're like, oh God, what did I get myself into? But, you know, you just figure out how to get out of it. So it's, the volunteering is just so important. And then the last thing is to be your true self. Be authentic. Be who you are. I mean, I try to be, you know, church Jeff, home Jeff, work Jeff, presenting Jeff. I just try to be, you know, who I am all the time. But I'm sure we all know people who may not. They may put on one face over here or put on one face over there. And like I said, after I had my aneurysm, I really tried to up my level of just being sort of optimistic, grateful, happy person. And I had a boss who came in, he was a new boss, but he knew me from afar, where he was before. And I had my review with him. You know, he always makes everybody happy, those performance appraisal reviews. You know, I have to do 20 of them. And he said, yeah, Jeff, you are, I just thought you were sort of being glib, but this is really who you are. Yeah, what you see is what you get, for the better or the worse, you know. Here we go. But the last thing was, and this is the final piece of the story about purpose, is I do have a confession to make. When I started the Connecticut General, which was before Cigna, merged by and to become Cigna, we talked about how our purpose as a company was to serve 4 constituents: our customers, each other, our communities, and our shareholders. That was it. And we felt really good because we tell good things around those 4 things. Well, in the late 70s, I think it was the University of Chicago, this train, and I think of this as another virus. No, you need to take care of the shareholders. That's what's most important. Got to take care of the shareholders. And that took hold. And the additional thought was, and let's load up the senior executives with stock options so that they have the same incentives as the shareholders. Brilliant, you know? Created this amazing transfer of wealth over decades. But, you know, I remember the head of Cigna, he would be like, we need to take care of our shareholders. And I felt like he said, we need to take care of me, you know, who is the biggest shareholder of all, right? So this did not float my boat, you know. I'm not real thrilled about living just thinking about a shareholder all the time. I really didn't care about the shareholders. which is probably not a good thing to say. I care about my customers. I care about the people I work with. I care about the communities, Shareholders, not quite so high list. So anyways, when I made that decision to step away from that role, again, now it's just really trying to take care of everybody that I meet, trying to bring them happiness, hope, and lift them up and help them out through what I can bring to them. So I'm going to play another song. We're getting close. And this is somewhat autobiographical, but I'm going to tell you another aspect of it when I get done here. It's called Chasing Fool's Gold. Oh, and this song just came out yesterday on Spotify. So you can find Chasing or Apple Music, any of the streaming platforms. I was ripped, ragged and weary, and my bones, they ache so much. My blood dripped, my eyes were tearing as I reached down for someone to touch. I was so blind, I could not see, I could not find the place to be. I was so lost, I was so cold, while I wasted time chasing, wasted time chasing, wasted time chasing fool's gold. I was young, full of ambition, and false gods lured me astray. I would run to any mission. I was asleep in the light of the day. I could not hear, I could not hear, I could not feel. I only feared what was not real. At such a cost, my soul was sold, while I wasted time chasing, wasted time chasing, wasted time chasing fool's gold. Wondering what it all meant, wondering where it all went, looking for someone inside, somewhere to hide, when the answer was waiting inside. Now I'm blessed, filled with wonder, I'm awake and I can breathe. I will not rest, I feel the thunder of your love. Now I truly believe. I feel so strong, I feel so light. My heart belongs to what is right. To you I cross, it's you I hold. No longer wasting time chasing, wasting time chasing, wasting time chasing fool's gold. Fool's gold. Thank you. This song is on a CD of folk songs that are being sent to radio stations right now. And the guy who compiled it, he's like, what is this song really about, Jeff? And I said, well, it's about whatever you want it to be about. But for all of us here at St. John's, I've always thought of calling this song Paul's song. If you think about it, sort of the arc of Paul's life and the love. And that really was what I was thinking about when I wrote that song way back when. But it just worked on so many different levels. So anyways, those are my tips about happiness. And I'll just do one fast little happy song to sort of end it, if that's okay. Everybody, we're coming there. Okay. So, I used to be like a morning person and a night person. Now I'm more just a night person, not as much of an early person. And so Dave and I were down somewhere warm, and I thought, I really want to get up and go to seeing the sunrise, I want to watch the sunrise. We were at the ocean. I want to get out. So I went out one morning, got up, set the alarm, we got out, pre-cappuccino, and started floating in the water. And it was kind of dark, and I saw the colors start to come up. And it was just so spectacular watching that sun, just beautiful colors, and birds were chirping. I thought, I'm going to go write a song about this right now. So this song is called Watch the Sun Kiss the Sky. Watch the sun kiss the sky, hear the birds cry, singing morning songs filled with joy. Watch the sun kiss the sky, let your dreams fly, fill your days with gifts and rejoice. Use your moments, make a difference, wise where you want to go. Making choices so authentic that's the true you grow. Watch the sun kiss the sky, hear the birds cry, singing morning songs filled with joy. Watch the sun kiss the sky, let your dreams fly, fill your days with gifts and rejoice. Throw away all of your troubles, don't let them drag you down. Soar into a world of meaning that lifts you from the ground. Watch the sun kiss the sky, hear the birds cry, singing morning songs filled with joy. Watch the sun kiss the sky, let your dreams fly, fill your days with gifts and rejoice. Life goes by so quickly, there's no time for regrets. Hug the dawn so tightly, make this your best day yet. Watch the sun kiss the sky, hear the birds cry, singing morning songs filled with joy. Watch the sun kiss the sky, let your dreams fly, fill your days with gifts and rejoice. Fill your days with gifts and rejoice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the author George Eliot once wrote, "You're never too old to be who you were meant to be." And I've tried to embrace that as my creed as we go forward here. So, gratitude abounds, happiness abounds. There's plenty of stuff at the happiness table over here. Grab something to bring home if you'd like. But again, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it much more.